There is a difference. I remember when I arrived here in Spain, within a few months, I was getting job offers from big companies.
Welcome to the Freelance Spotlight. I'm your host, Sunday, and today we have an incredible guest joining us. Get ready to learn from Anthony, the master of scaling high-performing freelancers into $10,000 plus per month business owners. Stay tuned as we dive into his journey and uncover the secrets to his success. Who is on the spotlight today? Anthony. Welcome, Anthony.
Hello, Sunday. Thank you for the invitation.
In your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced as a freelancer? The biggest challenges facing Upwork freelancers and freelancers at large. And what advice would you give to overcome and navigate these challenges you identify?
Well, the challenges that a freelancer faces on Upwork, they're mostly related to positioning and to the rate, because people, they don't find that they can charge as much as they would want to charge. And this happens because they don't know how to position themselves well. The focus that a freelancer must have is the correct mindset. When you're a freelancer and you're offering a high quality service, you must reflect this correctly. And to do this, you must be confident. You must have a great way of using your language, your branding, your headline to express what you do and who you do it for, and just show that you have some type of social proof, so you can tell people what other clients think of you, what you've done for other clients, and how you've helped them solve their problems. I think that's the main challenge. Bad positioning and maybe not defining their niche properly.
Wow, amazing. I think one good thing about brand positioning is that it brings clients to you, and the clients that come to you readily understand you in one glance, not having to ask you series of questions to understand what you do, how you do it, how premium your services, or even doubting the quality of your service. By seeing maybe, for example, the quality of your website, quality of everything around your profile picture is looking uptight and looking good and looking professional. So it impacts how they perceive you as a freelancer. I love the fact that you're sharing that with us. Thank you, Anthony. As a successful copywriter, what strategies did you use to land high-paying clients and stand out in the competitive market like Upwork? Some would even tell you Upwork is extremely oversaturated.
Okay, yeah. So firstly, what you have to do if you want to stand out in a competitive market like copywriting is you have to be singular. You have to be different. You have to be unique. I think most people, they don't take that into account when they start positioning themselves, like I said earlier. One thing that you have to do is immediately mention your niche or mention your preferred industry, because your clients, they are not looking for a generalist. That is something that you need to know. They are looking for a specialist. High-performing freelancers need to focus on being unique. I understand that at the lower levels, a freelancer can do many different things. They can focus on many different fields. But as you gain experience and as you raise your rate, you will not be targeting the same clients as other freelancers who are specialized. So your competition, it will be more laser focused. You need to be able to find the perfect balance between being too focused and not being focused enough, being too broad, So I think that's the biggest strength that I have, is that I have managed to successfully position myself in copywriting and technical copywriting more specifically. And when I can have some other types of jobs, I do creative type of jobs like storytelling, publishing, which is another field that I'm in. I actually work for a publishing company, and I just make sure it's very specific, as I'm not in all types of publishing. I'm not going to get jobs from a romance author or a romance publisher or maybe a copywriter in IT. I focus exactly on what I know, which is fiction and non-fiction for publishing. And when it comes to copywriting, I focus mostly on technical copywriting, which is maybe Web3, AI, finance type of things. So that's my specialty, and that's how I do it.
Wow. Thank you, Anthony, for sharing that. So Anthony is telling us that specializing is an important thing. So you don't do many things like being a jack of all trades and master of none. That is applicable like when you're just starting. But when you get to the high level, because the question is how we can get high paying clients, not the clients that pays peanuts. So we need to specialize if we want those big clients that gives you offer of maybe like $30,000 per month and stuff like that. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so with Upwork's recent implementation of a flat 10% fee on all contracts, what are your thoughts on this change, and how do you think it will impact freelancers on the platform?
Personally, I understand why they made it 10% from 20, because 20% was too high. People were trying to migrate off the platform. People were trying to take their clients off the platform, and it's understandable. I think that Upwork was being a bit too, I don't want to use the word greedy, but it was kind of greedy. What I feel is that the 10%, it will allow people to be more attracted to Upwork, to come to Upwork and accept 10% is reasonable. The only problem now is that they have raised the 5% that there was for $10,000 contract. They have raised it to 10% from the start of next year. And I do not agree with that, because if somebody is working with a client, they've been working with them for years and they've made 500,000 with them and they were paying 5% of their earnings in fees. Now they will be paying double. And that will cause high-end freelancers and high-end clients to start questioning if maybe they should be working off the platform. So I invite Upwork with this message to maybe reconsider the 5% being raised to 10%, because it's not a good idea.
Oh, that's nice. So like it's more favorable to new freelancers on Upwork than the high-end or high-tier freelancers on Upwork, because technically like the fees that high-profile freelancers on Upwork get to pay now is doubled. Okay, so I get that. Thanks for your contribution. And I hope Upwork is going to listen to us, because they sent us some feedback forms to fill and give our opinion on that change. So I trust that they would look into that and implement something more favorable for top-rated freelancers on their platform. Okay, so now let's talk about how do you prioritize your self-care and your mental health? Because freelancers typically tend to overwork, because like it's just like, okay, if I work for one extra hour, I'm getting $100 more. So somehow we just keep chasing the bag, and sometimes we don't really rest and do other activities. So how do you strike that balance in your own situation?
Yeah, this is a very important subject, isn't it? I feel that a few years ago, I was chasing like as much gains, as much revenue as I could from this freelancing activity that I have, which is basically mostly writing and management. So my weakness was that I believed that more work equals more money equals better life. And that was wrong. The best way is to find the work-life balance. I mean, you've heard this 1,000 times, but work-life balance is crucial. You will need to find limits. Even if this means you didn't make 60,000 or 50,000 this year, but instead you made 30 or 40, you will live a better life. I promise you. There have been years when I decide to reduce my workload, to reduce my acceleration, when my growth, because otherwise you burn out, and burnout is real. I promise you. I recently had a small week where I was burnt out completely, and I didn't even want to post on LinkedIn. I post every day on LinkedIn. I was tired of posting. I was tired of work. I just wanted to disconnect, and I had to disconnect. So please take this warning from my experience. You have to find the balance, even if it means slowing down 1 year.
Wow, I think I love that. I was freelancing on Fiverr before I joined Upwork. So at some point, I was running both Upwork and Fiverr together, and I was getting gigs on Fiverr, but the high-end gigs are coming from Upwork. Then at some point, I became a top-rated person on Upwork, and I was getting more gigs on Upwork. And the gigs I get on Fiverr don't really match my standard, but because I want to make extra money, I was still trying to do them. So at some point, to reduce my workload, what I started doing was I started outsourcing gigs that come from Fiverr. I do Upwork gigs myself. I have some guys that work with me, so I outsource some of them. So I monitor them to ensure that they deliver high quality work. Sometimes I give them a day short of the actual deadline, because I can work faster. So if they fall short of the standard I expect, I can jump on the project myself. So on the part of the client, whether I do it myself or outsource it, excellence is delivered. So I think I love that. So we need to find a method that works for us to balance out our work life. Okay, so can you share a personal or professional goal that you are currently working towards, and what steps are you taking to achieve it?
Well, yeah, I recently rebranded my content and my whole personal brand, because I was serving freelancers in all areas, as in all types of niches, all types of levels. Some were beginners, some were experts. So recently I rebranded, and I'm focusing on high-performing freelancers. I feel that I can serve them very well. I've actually had a few consultation calls in the past few weeks. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help freelancers that are already performing, that are already making money, to become a business, to scale what they're doing now, and to bring in people. Some people don't need to bring in anybody, but to find better clients, because my philosophy is find fewer clients who pay you more, not find more clients who pay you less. That is the weakness that many freelancers have. They try to accumulate clients by having dozens of clients who will pay them just enough to make them have a great end of the month, but they don't realize that they could be serving less people who are paying them 4-figure or even 5-figure contracts every month. And that's the focus that I'm having now, just to teach people how to maximize the income from each client instead of getting more clients.
Wow, I like this particular point of view. So to our viewers, if you're watching right now, drop a clap emoji for Anthony or a thumbs up, anything to appreciate the wisdom he's sharing with us right here on this platform, the Freelance Podcast. Okay, then if you are a freelancer, whether you are a rising star, top rated plus, or you are a level 1, level 2 seller on Fiverr, we all know that at some point you need to scale out of these freelance platforms, and that is what Anthony is helping us achieve. So you can reach out to Anthony on LinkedIn, message him if you are a freelancer who is already making money and now you want to scale to the next level. So let's move on to the next question. What has been the most significant project or achievement you have worked on Upwork, and what advice would you give to someone who is striving to achieve the same level of success like you?
Personally, one of the things that I achieved, which I was very proud of, were 2 great moments. One of them was when I had a client I was working with a publisher on Upwork. And basically, we worked together for a long time. He realized that I had a lot of potential to do more than just writing for him. What happened was that eventually we parted ways on Upwork, and he contacted me a few years later and he said, I have an opportunity for you. I want you to become a full-time employee or a full-time worker for my company. You will be fully remote. You will be completely independent, managing my company. So what I did, I accepted the job. And these days I'm more of a client than just a freelancer. So I hire a lot of freelancers on Upwork. I have a lot of staff who I work with. We are producing tons of books every year. And I am now a podcast host like you, but in language education. So it's been very fun. And I loved that moment of my career. The other great moment was when last year, I received a job offer from an enterprise client, which ended up being Microsoft, which was, for me, it was massive, because on Upwork, to have an enterprise client, it puts your profile a lot higher in terms of value. So that was one of my best moments when I was repeat hired actually, because there was several contracts by Microsoft for some AI work, very specific work.
Wow, that's huge. Okay, so I was expecting something huge and you didn't disappoint. Okay, so I want to ask you a question. Knowing that you've lived in 2 different countries right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there is this talk among freelancers about the country you are located influencing the quality of jobs you get. So did you observe any significant difference when you moved from country A to country B? And can you name countries for us?
Yes, I'm originally from London, from England, but I moved at a young age to Venezuela, and Venezuela things, you know how difficult they are. They have been for a long time now. And I started freelancing in 2015 in Venezuela. And your question is a great one, because in Venezuela, there's a lot of clients who are paying you $1 for 500 words article.
$1?
Things like that, really low rates. Yes, I had a friend, she was paid $5 for 500 word articles. So you can imagine how difficult things can get. And what I did was I had to learn immediately how to position myself, because that was my disadvantage. I wasn't prepared to gain like $1 or $5 per article. And I wasn't willing, I was desperate, but I didn't want to give somebody my work for that price. So yes, you're right. There is a difference. I remember when I arrived here in Spain, within a few months, I was getting job offers from big companies, and they weren't that good paying, let me tell you, but they were big companies. So it was like just being here, it changed things, but it didn't mean that I was doing better than in Venezuela. Actually, in Venezuela, I was doing a lot better for a long time than I was at the beginning here in Madrid, Spain, because in Venezuela, you get to keep more of your money. In Madrid, you have to pay a lot of taxes. You have to pay big amounts of rent. So let me tell you, if you are now in Nigeria, or you are in Pakistan or India or somewhere similar, consider staying where you are. I'm not saying I regret being here. I'm happy to be here. But some people, they do not adapt well when they leave, because they are now spending more of their income on expenses. So consider trying to position yourself well where you are now and make the most of being in a developing country where things are cheaper. Believe me, it will work for you. That's something I have to say.
Oh, so I love that. You gave an amazing answer to that. You did justice to that. I love that. Okay, so I would have loved us to go into maybe talks about freelance tax, but I think let's stay within the scope of our discussion today. Okay, so how have you seen the demand for freelance services on Upwork change over the years, and how have you adapted to meet these changing demands?
That's an interesting question because, yeah, demands have really changed over the years as more competition pours into the niches. Like, for example, I remember when fiction writers or ghostwriting was more fun, it was more profitable. These days, I feel that a lot of people can do it. A lot of people are ghostwriting, and it has lowered the rates. It has caused the rates to go down. Virtual assistants as well. There are many, many, many virtual assistants. I know that many people in Nigeria, many women especially, they choose this as their niche. I have to tell them that they try to select something to add to your niche. That is my advice. Because just doing one niche and one very competitive niche and very broad as well is not going to get you the best clients. You need to try to complement it with other abilities, learn other things. A lot of people are learning how to do Airbnb arbitrage or additional skills like AI, trying to get on ChatGPT, develop their skills in prompts, things like that. Make sure that you have extra skills because otherwise your demand will go down, and it will go down for everybody. I know people, top rated plus people and people who are very skilled. Right now, they're struggling because they see that the demand is going down. So try to have extra skills that can complement you without being too broad.
I love that. I love that. So there are some skills that have competitive advantages. So for example, like freelancers that are doing things like virtual reality, like that kind of niche is not saturated. Like your chances of performing better as a freelancer is higher than virtual assistants. I used to say things like the easier it is to learn the skills or jump into the niche, that means without taking extra training, the more competitive that particular niche is going to be. But if a particular niche, for example, programming, takes you like a year to learn and master, because not everybody wants to make that huge sacrifice of learning something for a year before coming to freelance platform to implement it. I love your contribution. Then I want to ask you a question, still on this same question I've asked initially, like a backup question to the question I've asked. Do you think that the advent of AI is influencing the demand for freelancers?
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but I do feel that freelancers are less valuable now in many fields than they were 2 years ago because of AI. Content writers, for example, they are struggling because there is a lot of work going to AI. And I do want to mention another field, which is narration, like people who are for book narrators, like audiobooks or voiceover artists. These are struggling a lot because AI has allowed voices to be like copied or generated, right? They take your voice, like for example, narrators, they are hired to just record some samples. And then the company that asks for the samples, they take those samples and they create a whole library of voice, of sounds, words. And then that person loses their job because they gave their voice to an AI. So you have to be very careful, for example, what type of work you are performing, because maybe that work will be your downfall. It will be the reason why you lose work in the future. So my suggestion is to, as before, try to put skills together, try to do things that AI hasn't reached yet. Storytelling is great because AI isn't a great storyteller. There is a lot of other abilities, creative abilities that AI hasn't achieved yet. So try to get that. Try to become an expert in these fields.
Wow, amazing, amazing. I love the fact that you gave us a response to the answer and then you provide a solution. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. But before we move on to the next question, here on the Freelance Spotlight Podcast, if you have been following us, indicate in the comment section what country you're watching us from. And then if you've not hit the like button on this video, please do that to encourage what we do here. Thank you. Okay, so now to the next question I have here for Anthony. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received, and how has it impacted your life and career, even as a freelancer?
I'm going to tell you something recent, actually. It was just a few weeks ago, and I had received very good advice before that. But my favorite advice, I received it about a month ago, actually. And somebody told me, don't take business too seriously. Don't take it personally. That was the quote that stayed with me. Don't take business personally. Because last year I had a project and I put some money into the project, a bit of my savings, and I worked really hard with it. And suddenly, it was in Web3. And Web3, it has been fluctuating. Price of crypto and the NFTs has been fluctuating a lot. So I didn't have a good time with the project. It had a bit of, didn't get off the ground. So I told him, I would like you to help me and to tell me, how do I get over this feeling of, loss and maybe of defeat? Because I felt that I had been defeated in business. And he said, don't take business personally. He's an experienced investor. And he said, just try to get it out of your system. Think of the reasons of why it went wrong. Think of what you did and what you could do next time that you will do better. And I did that, and I'm feeling great. I feel able to start a new business now. And I think that's something for freelancers to take into account. When you have failures, just learn from them, digest them, feel the pain, don't bottle it up, feel the pain, allow yourself to get over it, and then start over. I mean, that's the best advice.
Wow, lovely, lovely. Okay, so I think that is the best advice received also today. Now, so it's a grand advice for me, like, the father, the son, and then the grandson, because I'm not getting it directly from the person who gave you that same advice. So what are your favorite strategies for promoting freelance business and attracting high-end clients on Upwork and off Upwork?
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. I like this question because it's everything a freelancer needs to know, right? Everybody who is a freelancer needs to be attracting clients. They can't be chasing clients every day. And I have a strong focus on not chasing clients, not sending 10, 20, 30 proposals daily, because that is not going to make you successful. What will make you successful is by putting yourself out there, by showing that you are an expert. And how do you do that? By making noise. You need to make noise on several platforms. Right now, I'm doing it on LinkedIn. A lot of people are doing it on LinkedIn as well. Make your profile on Upwork optimized. Make it so people can find you. Keep an eye on your stats. You have a My Stats section on the Find Work menu. You look on My Stats. You make sure how many people are looking at me. Search for your name. Look for yourself on the Upwork search. Am I appearing in front of others? Am I hidden? I recently noticed that my profile has been a bit hidden because I'm not as active anymore on Upwork as I was last year. So I have to work on that. And people have to work on these things. Post on LinkedIn. If you're a writer, get on Medium, get on Quora, get your name there so people can find you. If you're a developer, get on forums or Reddit or GitHub. Make yourself visible, because visibility is like currency. It's like the money of this field. You have to get out there and make noise.
Wow, lovely. So that means you need to call the attention of the prospective clients you desire by giving them rich content, like giving them useful content for them. If you are a web developer, you start to give business owners, whether you are targeting, whether you're focused on B2B or B2C, whether you're a business or you are a single business that is trying to reach out to other business. So let those prospective clients of yours feel that you are a thought leader in your field by sharing useful tips for them. So I think I love that point. Thank you very much for it.
You're welcome.
To the next question, I learned you're passionate about sustainability and green tech. Could you share recent green energy development that has caught your attention and why it excites you?
Yes, I'm very passionate about green hydrogen. I mean, maybe not a lot of people know about green hydrogen, but hydrogen you probably have heard of. Hydrogen is a gas that we can use as an energy source, which is, it can or cannot be sometimes contaminating or polluting. But green hydrogen is made from 100% renewable sources. So that means no natural gas, no oil of any kind is used to create it, or no coal, which is another source of polluting substances. So green hydrogen is just starting to get off the ground. It's an industry that is looking to make vehicles, make domestic heating, to make electricity generation, just every type of thing you can think of in terms of energy. It's making it cleaner. And that is something that I'm very invested in, green hydrogen. I really want to see it get off the ground. I want to see people, I want people to realize how important it is that not only stop using plastic or stop taking planes or whatever. That's not enough to get us to a safer planet. We have to just invest as much as we can in clean technologies, and green hydrogen is definitely one of those ways.
Wow, lovely. So a question came to mind right when you were explaining that. I want to ask, what was your experience like? Were you on a 9-to-5 job at some point, and how did you transition into being a freelancer and now like a business owner?
When I started as a freelancer, I was like I said, in Venezuela. I was really desperate. I was teaching English at the time in Venezuela, and I was earning less than $20 a month. Just think of how bad things got. It was more around 10.
Wait. Let me do the calculation. Like, I know Naira is not in any way as strong as the dollar, but they're like, I think an average teacher earns more than $20 a month here. So I'm very surprised.
Yeah, it was bad because even though Venezuela was cheaper at the time, $10 wasn't even the minimum wage. So I was struggling and I needed a way out. So what I did was I talked to a friend who is also an English teacher and I said, what can I do? I mean, I want to work with you. Let's try to set something up like an academy. And she said, forget about academies, forget about English. I'm going to talk to you about a website. It's called Upwork. And I said, what is Upwork? Please check it out. And she helped me create my profile. I will never forget her. I will always be thankful to her. She's still my best friend. And what I did was I immediately started creating my profile and my bio. I started sending proposals and I got a job within 1 week, which is good because I was practically starving at that point. I was eating like twice a day and I got a job with Minecraft Writer. I was earning really badly, but it got me off the ground because Venezuela could change the dollars for Venezuelan bolivars. That's the name of the currency. And I changed my life. I mean, that freelancing, it saved my life.
Wow. I really love that. You remind me of this guy whose Twitter and YouTube and everything about him is Upwork saved my life. Because I think it helped him with a great degree of transition. After you transition, for those of us who have experienced countries like Nigeria, African countries, and a country like Venezuela you're mentioning, even with our skills, we start with at the mode of survivor. We just want to survive. We just want to make ends meet. Then after some time, maybe when you have a platform like Upwork, Fiverr, and now you are making enough money, so feeding is not the problem, clothing is not the problem, paying your rent is not the problem. Now you are beginning to think that, okay, what is the next big thing you can do? How can I scale? What can I do? Should I start a business? Should I invest in business of other people? Should I learn something new? Because now you are balanced. So I love your point. Thank you so much for joining us on the Freelance Spotlight Podcast. Remember to stay inspired, keep hustling, and tune in for our next episode of the Freelance Spotlight.